Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me. If it's your first time here, welcome. Welcome along to the journey. Great to have you along. Really, really great to have you along. Really pleased you're here. If you're returning and you've liked what I've done so far, amazing. Thank you very much for coming back. Really appreciate you spending your time. I know your time is precious, and the fact that you are taking the time to listen to what I have to say is amazing, and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. If you haven't been along the journey with me so far, I've been doing videos for a couple of months now just to talk about different subjects that I feel are related to where we are and what's going on at the moment. And I suggest, to get a sort of feel for what I'm about and what I talk about, that you go and start at the beginning of the series, because there is a narrative arc that runs through what I'm talking about, and there's a reason why I've done these talks in the order that I have. And Today's discussion is about drugs. Now, and the controversial part, this is a very controversial subject, obviously, because it's not talked about in main polite society, is that I believe that all drugs should be legalised. So bear with me, you might not agree, and that's cool, you don't have to, but I believe that we need to have these kind of discussions. And if you'd like to contribute to the conversation, please feel free to comment in the comment section below. I will try and answer to any comments that come in. I'm a busy man, but I always try and take the time to respond to people who have taken the time to listen to me. So I'll take the time to listen to you as I can. So let's get into this. Now, I don't know whether you all know, so I'll tell you anyway, that alcohol is a drug, and it kills more people than most illicit drugs today. So through different effects here, alcohol-related illnesses, and traffic accidents, and the rest. Just because it's legal doesn't make it right, doesn't make it good. So as we go through further along in the discussion about legalization, I'm not a proponent of drugs. I'm not trying to promote them. What I'm saying is there's reasons why I believe they should be legalized. We'll get to those as we go along. But alcohol is definitely a drug, and just because it's legal and it's sold over the counter doesn't make it a good thing. So let's start the discussion. Why do people take drugs in the first place? And now there's a lot of different reasons. Now this is why I believe that this subject, especially now during these times, is especially important, because as people have been locked up at home, furloughed from work, some have even lost their jobs permanently because the businesses that they've worked in closed. Like I said, there's a lot of different reasons, but drugs are an escape. It gives you an opportunity to wind down, relax, and escape from the drudgery or the pain of your life. Having to work all the time. We all have to work a lot just to be able to pay the bills nowadays, and it helps you to wind down or relax or escape from your life for a brief period of time. Now, there's other people that they want to go out to a party, they want to get high. We can all say that's a good thing or a bad thing, but there's lots of different reasons why people do it. Now, knowing that, in the times that we have right now, where there's a lot of fear and anguish and worry and doubt and panic about the monetary situations, that escape, people have been taking that escape more and more because they're concerned about their lives and their livelihoods, and being able to keep a roof over their head and food on the table. So people have been turning to these drugs, alcohol, all sorts of drugs, to escape that fear-based mentality. And that's perfectly understandable, because when you have fear, sometimes you just want to get away from that. Now, where do we start? The biggest problem that we have is this stigmatism about drugs. Now, because alcohol's legal and it's accepted, there's no stigmatism to it. So going home and having a glass of wine after work is perfectly acceptable. But yet we're told that people who want to go home and smoke a joint or get high, that they're bad people because they're illegal drugs. Now, the fact that something's legal. The good thing about having something legal like alcohol is it's highly regulated and it's taxed. Now, if you have something like alcohol, you have the brewers or the distillers who are making these alcohols. They are tightly regulated. They're quality checked all the time. They use the same processes. and the quality of their product is always tested. Whereas if people are going and buying drugs on the street, the quality can change from day to day. Now, if you have someone goes and visits a drug dealer to buy cocaine, for instance, he might always get it from the same place. But what happens if his dealer, his upline, if you like, is being arrested? And he'll go and get it from somebody else because he wants to supply to the people that he supplies to. So the other thing with drug dealers is, especially with cocaine and things like that, is that drug dealers want to make money. That's what they're there for. Now, what they do is they buy a large amount and they cut it down with other things. So it could be baby Panadol, it could be allergen medication, so that they can spread it out and make more money. Which presents a problem as well, because one day you might buy it and it's one strength, and another day you'll buy it and it's completely different. It's unregulated. So the other problem is that you have illicit drugs, that it creates an environment of competitiveness amongst those dealers. Now, there's been many instances where you have gangs that have gang wars over drugs, over the controlling of areas where they can sell drugs, which creates, areas that no-go zones for people who just want to go to an area. If you wear the wrong thing or you say the wrong thing in a particular area, then you could be a victim of crime that goes along with these gang violence, because they're trying to fight over a territory to control the drug trade in that territory. Now, the stigmatism around drugs has created a bit of a problem, because we have people that are in situations that are bad, but there's no real sort of focus point. There's no real contact point for those people that are on drugs, or alcohol as well, I suppose, because you can go and buy alcohol anywhere at any corner store or the supermarket. But if you're going to a supermarket and you're buying litres of vodka every week, the supermarket's not going to say anything. Of course they're not, But so you don't have that contact point to help people with problems with alcohol. And it's only when it gets to a point where it's a real big problem that either family members or friends or people around them step in and have what they call an intervention, if you like, to help these people get past their issues. That's caused them to go down that route. Afternoon, how are you doing? Just talking to myself. But you have, alcohol is one thing, but then you have people who are on more serious drugs that can cause more serious issues in their life, that there's no contact point for them either. Their dealer's never going to say to them, hey man, you're buying a lot here, you probably should slow down. They're going to keep on selling because they're out there to make money. So there's lots of different issues that go along with this. Now, there's an experiment that I read about many years ago. I think the experiment was done in the 50s, and it was a scientist who said, I'm going to prove that cocaine is physically addictive. So he said the parameters of the experiment were, he's going to take a rat and put a rat in a cage with a bottle of water and a bottle of cocaine water, and see which bottle the rat keeps going back to. And if the rat keeps going back to the cocaine water, then it just proves that cocaine is addictive. So of course he put the rat in the cage, and the rat was in the cage by itself, and of course it kept on going back to the cocaine water. He said, there you are, that proves that cocaine is addictive. So there was another scientist in the 60s who went, well, the parameters were too narrow in the experiment. So we're going to do another experiment. We're going to take a rat, we're going to put it in a cage for 45 days, get it hopelessly addicted to cocaine. And then we're going to put that same rat in a cage with a bunch of other rats, with tunnels for it to run through and interaction with other rats, an environment that would make a rat happy, and see if it would still go back to the cocaine water. Now, what they did, they put the rat in the cage, got it hopelessly addicted to cocaine, and then they took that rat and they put it in another cage with lots of rats, tunnels for it to run through, an environment the rat would love. And it never touched the bottle of cocaine water that was in that cage. But then, when they took that same rat back out, put it in a cage by itself, it kept on going back to the cocaine water. Now, what that showed was that the cocaine wasn't physically addictive. It was a product of the environment that rat was in that made it want to escape that environment. And it escaped it by doing the cocaine water. So, you know, if you have a look at people who go through Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, the 12-step programs that they have, you know, part of that program is separating yourself from those environments, from those situations, either as people that you're always around that are doing drugs, or an environment that makes you unhappy, that makes you want to turn to drugs. You know, to change your cage, to change the place where you are mentally, sometimes physically, to get out of there, to create a better environment, so you're not constantly looking for a happier environment to live in and escaping your current life to go into, you know, with using drugs or alcohol or whatever that drug is of choice. So, you know, that we have to bear that in mind. Now, you know, I've been told that heroin is physically addictive as well. Heroin's an opiate, you know, much like morphine. Now, if you've ever been in hospital and had morphine, you know, I did. And, you know, I know plenty of people's grandmas that have been in hospital having hip operations. They don't come out into the street looking for some smack to keep them going, you know. Long-term users of opiates develop it. They fall into a habit, not I wouldn't think a physically addictive habit, even though that's been suggested that it is. But I think it's more of a habit of relying on a crutch, if you like, to get them through either the physical pain or just just because it helps them escape that, you know, the mental anguish. Maybe you've had an accident and you're struggling to deal with it mentally. There's lots of different reasons, as I say, but I don't believe you know, when you get to a certain point of anything, like cigarettes, for instance, your body gets used to it. Your body adapts and changes and overcomes. And, you know, when you first start smoking cigarettes, I never have, fortunately, but if you first start smoking cigarettes, you'll cough. Then after a while, your body gets used to it and you won't. It's the same with heroin, same with cocaine, same with anything, alcohol. If you do it constantly, for long periods, your body's going to get used to it. So of course it's going to have a physical reaction if you stop. You know, it's going to have a reaction the same as it's an equal and opposite reaction to you stopping. So when you first start, you react, and then when you stop, your body's going to react because it has to change and adapt to the new circumstance. So, you know, there's many reasons why we've been told these things, that drugs are bad, but are they all? You know, marijuana, for instance. Now, if you have a look at the research, there's been plenty of research at PubMed.com, published medical papers, all peer reviewed. Go there and have a look about cannabis and you know, curing cancer. We can't use the word cure, obviously. Benefiting people who have cancer for a variety of different conditions in different ways. You've had different strains of cannabis have been used to create oils for children without THC. THC is another cannabinoid, but that's the psychoactive cannabinoid in cannabis. There's been oils that have been made for children who have epileptic fits, and those cannabinoids in specific varieties of cannabis plants that stop the children having epilepsy enough to have an ordinary life, that they're not having grand mal seizures constantly. So, but why isn't that being widely used? I don't know whether you know, but cocaine was widely used before as a painkiller. You know, a long time ago. Cocaine used to be in Coca-Cola at one stage, but it was widely accepted as being beneficial health-wise. But it's been stigmatized for a long time because, well, for a variety of reasons, of course. But obviously, you can't patent something that is produced naturally in the world. So you can't patent cannabis because it grows wild. So because you can't patent it, there's no money in it. You know, you might be able to produce it, but you can't patent it. So it means you don't own it. Now, drug companies don't want to use something that they don't own because anybody can produce it. Now, that brings us on to drug companies. Now, drug companies produce drugs, you know, prescription medication. Now, many hundreds of thousands of people die every single year from prescription medication. Now, that's just not over-medicating. Sometimes it is. Sometimes there's a bad reaction. But for everything that you have, you know, science has always told us, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. there's many side effects to prescription medication, and anyone that's been taking prescription medication for different things, you might have cancer, you might have arthritis. There's lots of different reasons why people take prescription medication, but quite often when you take prescription medication, there's side effects that go along with it, and then you end up taking another drug to offset the side effects of that drug, and so on. And you end up taking a cocktail of drugs for a problem that could possibly be solved by something natural. But as I say, there's natural remedies have been vilified through the media for a while now, saying it's quackery and all that kind of thing. Same as cannabis. But people are sort of starting to wake up and realise that perhaps everything that we've been told is not 100% factual. Let's put it that way. And that maybe there is a different way of doing things. Now, when it comes to cannabis, I have done a lot of reading on the subject. I wouldn't say I'm an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I've done a lot of reading on the subject. And people smoke cannabis, and that is not the best way to take it, obviously. It's been part of our food chain for a long time because it grows wild. So the animals that we eat have been eating cannabis. We have cannabinoid receptors in our bodies because it's been part of our food chain for so long, that we have cannabinoid receptors in our body. Now, cannabinoids can help with anything from helping people with cancer to pain relief to helping people with appetite when they're going through cancer treatments as well. There's a variety of different things that cannabis is good for, but it's been vilified and stigmatized for so long that we all think you're going to go mad, you're going to go schizophrenic if you have it. We shouldn't be smoking it. It's not good to smoke. It's not good for your lungs. The best way to ingest it is to have cannabis is to ingest it, to eat it. And that can be done in lots of different ways. But Rick Simpson did a book called Phoenix Tears, talked about how to make cannabis oil. Very, very good book, worth a read. A bit of science behind it as well. But these kind of people are, vilified as well, saying it's quackery and it's, but the science, I've always been told to trust the science, backs up everything that he says. And if you, like I say, go to pubmed.com, go cannabis and cancer, cannabinoids and cancer, and you'll see for yourself. Just do some reading. Like I say, I don't say everything that I don't proclaim to know the truth. What I do is I try and point people in a direction where they can find information that might back up what I'm saying. But what I say, I'm asking you to go and do your own research, because you're listening to some guy on the internet and tell you the truth, to trust for the truth is the same as listening to some guy in a white coat tell you he knows. You have to make up your own mind what you believe and make decisions that govern your own life. Now, let's get back to the subject at hand, is legalizing drugs. Now, imagine if we legalized all drugs, and drugs were treated the same as alcohol and pharmaceutical drugs, that there's quality testing all the time. You have a license to grow marijuana, for instance, or coca, or and produce the final product. Government could license that. It could tax the drugs, and they could be sold through reputable outlets like a chemist or a facility that sells the drugs directly to the public. Now you would have a product that is the same every single time. It's not cut down with anything else. It is a pure product that is quality checked, and you know exactly what you're getting every time you're getting it. Whereas if you go and buy something on the street, you don't know what you're getting, you don't know who's growing it, you don't know where it comes from, you don't know how many hands it's been through, you know nothing about it. So legalizing would mean that also not only that the quality would be the same, that tax could be generated, and jobs as well. If you had cannabis farms or coca farms, you could create jobs, create employment and income, and take away that income stream from gangs and stop gang violence on the street. Now, with the quality testing and the reputable outlet that it's sold through, you have to register to go and buy it from these outlets, let's say. Now, what that gives us is a contact point for those people who are taking those drugs. So imagine if you're going to buy in 10 grams of cocaine in a week. At that point, They could say, well, sir, you bought 10 grams of cocaine this week. Is there a problem that we can maybe help you with? And you have a point of contact with the end user, which we don't have now. Now, with the tax that comes from the sale of those drugs, that could be used to benefit those people who are having issues. So there could be psychological help that's made available, or just a friendly ear to talk to, because sometimes the circles that people run in, they don't have that friendly ear to talk about concerns or problems that they have in their life that are leading them to want to escape so much. So that point of contact could save many, many lives of people who die of drug overdoses. Now, I want you all to understand, I'm not talking from a perspective of someone who doesn't know what I'm talking about. I've had many, many friends that have been through rehab that have had many problems with drugs. I had a friend last year who was a childhood friend of mine who died last year of a drug overdose. Now, I'm no angel. I'm willing to declare that I have taken drugs in the past, and by the past I mean about 10 minutes ago. I'm joking. I have done drugs in the past, and I would say that most of you who are watching this would have as well, bearing in mind that alcohol is a drug. So it's easy to point the finger at someone and say, well, you're a drug addict or whatever it is. I don't believe I ever had a problem with drugs. I don't ever think I had a problem with alcohol. I don't drink anymore. I haven't had a drink in 2 years. But I think that jailing people who've been caught with drugs isn't the way to cure anybody or fix anybody. It's only going to make things worse, as it's evidenced in our society as it is. We have to change the way that we look at these things and these issues and these problems. And prohibition doesn't work. I mean, saying to someone you can't have or you can't do only makes them want to have or do. In America they had prohibition in the 30s, I think it was, where alcohol was illegal. So what happened? It went underground. The same as what's happened with drugs right now. This war on drugs. I mean, honestly, what's it stopped? Who's controlling the flow of drugs around the world? I won't mention any three-letter agency words. Oh, sorry, it was a bit of a cough there. Must have the Rona. But who's controlling the flow of drugs around the world, and how is it such a widespread problem? If there is this war on drugs and they're spending billions on this every year, you've got Mexican drug cartels, you've got cartels all over the world, let's face it. But how are they getting the drugs from point A to point B, and so widely dispersed? Nothing ever happens. So the prohibition doesn't work. Let's face it. We need a new approach. So if we were to legalise all drugs and create safe environments that people could use them, safe environments where people could buy them, it's the same, quality tested all the time, and produced by licensed growers and producers, it would save a lot of lives, it would create a lot of revenue, and we'd also have a contact point for those end users. So is that a bad thing? Like I say, I'm not saying this is the best way, but this is an option, and maybe we should think about having different options, because what we've done thus far hasn't worked. So maybe it's time to have a new approach. Now, in saying all this, illegality doesn't mean it's moral. And sorry, I'm just trying to see the time, make sure that we're not going to run too long. I don't want to keep you all day. Now, I had an experience, if you watched some of my earlier videos, I had an experience where, when I was young, I was trying all sorts of different things, and I look back at it, and I don't judge myself, and I'm not going to say that it was wrong or right, but it's it was what it was, and I did what I did, and it's helped me to get to the point where I am now. I understand myself better, and I understand the world around me better. But I was at a point in my life a few years ago. I was very judgmental of everyone around me, my wife, my children, and when I was young, I had heard about something called ayahuasca. Now, what I'd heard up until that point was it was the most powerful psychedelic in the world. And that, for young and impressionable minds, that has a draw. Afternoon, how are we doing?
You all right?
Yeah, well, thank you. For someone young and impressionable, that has a draw, because it is, the most powerful hallucinogen in the world, psychedelic. It's easy to think, well, that's what I want to do because it's, I want to test myself, I want to challenge myself. I didn't really understand what it was, what it was about, or what it did. Psychedelics was just another way of getting off your head, getting high. I didn't understand what it was all about, and it was just one of those things. As I went through my life and I started to learn more about it, there's been a lot of studies and a lot of research that's been done on psychedelics, helping people with all sorts of mental health issues, depression and PTSD and those kind of things. A lot of research that's been done. Afternoon, how are we doing?
Good afternoon.
And if you, like I say, go to pubmed.com, you can read the research for yourself. But there's been a lot of research that's been done on psychedelics and helping people with these conditions. And ayahuasca is the most powerful of them all. And look, I'm not going to promote it. It's a very, very powerful thing. It's very overwhelming, scary as hell. But a few years ago, I had the opportunity I was actually told I had to go and do it because I was in a very judgmental place and I wasn't in a good place mentally. I booked in to do it. Now the preparation for this was, you have to no alcohol, no drugs, no sex, no dairy, there's all sorts of things that you can't do before you go, to cleanse your body before you go. When I went, there was a cleansing ceremony as well, where there's how best to put it, you are confronted with opening yourself up to people, to strangers, and being able to openly discuss subjects that you wouldn't normally discuss with strangers. Your innermost fears and the reasons why you are there, the reasons why you're taking the experience in the first place. And that for many is difficult. Hello, how are we doing? Talking to myself. Yeah, just doing a little bit of filming. So that's firstly is something very difficult to overcome for a lot of people. But then when you actually take the substance itself, it's brewed in a tea, and you ingest it. It's very, very powerful. Lasts for about 8 hours, but it makes you face things in yourself that you might not know, or you might not see in yourself, because you're wrapped up in your own life, and it's very difficult to face those things, the things that you don't want to face. It's difficult to face those things that are sort of more in the background of your life. It's not the stuff that you think about every day. It's the things that drive you. It's the things in the back of your mind that your subconscious, if you like, that drive your everyday, the way that you live every day, the way that you interact with the world. And it makes you confront those things. And those things can be built up from childhood. You could have had a bad experience in childhood, or misinterpreted something from your childhood. And that plays out in your everyday life and the decisions that you make. Now, when I did the ayahuasca, it changed the way that I approached the world. It changed the way I thought, changed the way I interacted with the world, and it changed the way I thought about myself, my place in the world. And it was such a positive experience that, and as part of that, like I said before, I'm not a religious person, but it was deeply profound. And it was, I don't want to say it was a religious experience, but to have a connection that I did to everything, to everyone, and had that understanding that I am part of everything, that everything is part of me, and we are all connected to everything. Have a look around you. Everything that you see is the same. We all experience ourselves as different and disconnected and alone in the world. I had this experience where there was a voice that spoke to me and told me I'm not alone, never have been, that I'm loved, cared about, and it was so deep and profound and so humbling to have that connection to such love and connectiveness to everything. It changed the way that I thought. Now, is that a bad thing? This drug is illegal, by the way. So that changed me positively. And since that experience, I haven't drunk a drop of alcohol. Not because I wanted to stop, just because I don't feel like it. I don't feel like I need that anymore. I don't feel like I need it in my life. So, there's been many instances where people have come back from war with PTSD and have been treated with something called MDMA, which is the basis of ecstasy. So, we've been told that all these things are bad for us, but, are they really? And could they be better used if they weren't being stigmatized, if they weren't being if we weren't constantly being told that they were bad for us, maybe we could find uses for these things that are helping people that don't respond to pharmaceutical drugs. And a lot of these things come from natural sources, like ecstasy. Ayahuasca comes from a vine that grows in the Amazon. If we can get past the stigmatism, then maybe, just maybe, the use of psychedelics and drugs in our world could actually help us to move forward and understand each other better. And is that a bad thing? So, that wraps up what we're going to talk about today. But just wanted to sort of start that conversation. I hope you've enjoyed what I've spoke about today. If you have, hit the like button, hit a comment, and share the information if you like it. And I look forward to seeing you sometime soon. Ciao for now.